artificial intelligence, the future of progress, or a tool with dangerous consequences? Can you own what AI creates? What happens when AI-made decisions go wrong? As we measure AI's risks and benefits, will we find that AI truly has value? Our Master of Ceremonies, Hailey Wilson, is the fairy godmother of AI. Joining her in the arena are Brad Frazer, intellectual property attorney, Noah Riley, AI genius consulting, each representing a side of this critical debate. Now let's get to it. Hailey, are you ready, boo?
Welcome to the great debate. So happy to have you, and thanks to Hal AI for that very interesting, if not echoey, interview or intro, which is totally fine. That's how we roll. So my name's Hailey Wilson, the fairy godmother of AI. I don't quite look like my avatar. That's kind of a point. That's totally fine. We are here today because we are going to be having a really serious conversation. It's a little hyperbolic. That's fine. About whether or not AI has value. And I have two teams here, and Noah, who's going to be representing our eternal optimist. And we also have Brad, who will be our devil's advocate. And so I'm not going to delay too much, but before we get in there into this whole debate, I just wanted to give you guys a little understanding on why we do this debate in the first place. You guys saw this week, OpenAI released their next new thing, which is ChatGPT 4.0, I'm not really sure what they're calling it, which has some really interesting features, right? Where you can observe, it has access to your video and your images, and it can actually tell you what you're looking at. And if you're a person who is slightly blind or not able to see the world around you and experience it the way the rest of us do, this is kind of an exciting new world to be in. It does raise a lot of questions, though, about security. Well, if that means that the computer can understand what's coming in through my camera, that opens up a whole new world of security and data concerns. So even just this week, we're already seeing technology coming out, which raises a lot of important, critical questions. The point of this debate is not to give you guys an end conclusion. You will not be walking away from this, I don't think, saying, okay, I really believe one way or the other. But you will go into this saying, I have new perspectives. I understand the other side better. The ultimate goal of the great debate, any interaction that AImpact or that I do as Hailey Wilson, is to just get across the simple fact that we can disagree without being disagreeable, right? That's especially important in the election year and as the world seems more violent, crazy, and divided. It's very important that we're able to come together and have conversations like this. So I applaud Brad and Noah, who are here today. They've spent a lot of time researching their perspectives. We will have a Q&A towards the end before closing statements. And then following the formal program, we'll actually open it up to conversation with the audience. So very excited. If at any point you guys have questions, you can pop that into the little chat box here. Also, if this is something that you would like to participate in as either a facilitator, because I can't do it all myself, or as a debater, please reach out to me. I mean, this is not something I can do alone. I rely on the kindness of strangers like Brad and Noah and other people out there. I think that's it. The only last thing I have before we kick it off is that there will be a poll at the end asking who you think won the debate. Okay, just because we like to have a little competition, right? All right, fabulous. So we're going to go ahead and kick it off with our opening statements. Per our ritual, we usually let our eternal optimists go first, which means Noah, you are on deck, sir. Over to you.
All right, hey guys, can you hear me?
I think so. No complaints so far.
All is well. If anybody can't hear me in the chat, let me know, but it sounds like we're good. My name is Noah. I have a company called AI Genius Consulting. I do fractional CTO work for companies where I manage software, software stacks. So essentially what I do is look across a business's processes, especially where it comes to using software in their business, to find inefficiencies and or areas for improvement by creating workflows, optimizing software usage, and then creating automations. I have kind of a specialty in AI implementation into business processes to try to see where we can create the most amount of time possible. My opening statement is that while on some level I agree with Brad on the copyright side, but I think that to say that AI has no value is too many steps removed from copyright, because the vast majority of usage of AI has nothing to do with copywritten material. And so the value of AI is tremendous for anyone who is not trying to monetize their AI creations via copywritten or intellectual property. So that's my statement. My name's Noah. I'm excited to be here. And Brad, thank you for doing this with me. It's going to be fun.
Ooh. Okay, Brad, without further ado, take it over.
Thank you, Hailey, and thank you, Noah. And thank you, all of you who've chosen to join us today. I understand this is being recorded and will be repurposed at some future point on the internet. So if your friends can't attend, watch Hailey's space for additional updates on where you can go back and watch this again. Hopefully it will be entertaining and energetic. And Noah, thank you for your introductory comments. My name is Brad Frazer. I'm a partner in a law firm in Boise, Idaho, and I practice intellectual property law. And Noah's right. What I do has colored my perspective on the use of artificial intelligence. And I have tried to divorce myself from some of these preconceptions as I've seen the wholesale use of artificial intelligence just explode. And so I'm struggling to see Noah's perspective on this. I know that everybody uses AI. I know how attractive it is. I know that there are economic benefits, but I'm struggling because I'm looking at it through the lens of an intellectual property lawyer. So as you consider our discussion today, remember that I'm looking at it through that lens. Not to say Noah's wrong, of course, but this colors my perspective, and hopefully you'll take away a few concerns that I have as an intellectual property lawyer who's been doing this for 35 years about the use of artificial intelligence. And I have 4 principal concerns as part of my opening statement in terms of why AI certainly has value. It has value, of course. I mean, everything has value. Everything has value in a vacuum, in a bucket. But in the constructs we're discussing today, AI's value is marginalized, in my view, for 4 principal reasons. 1, litigation. We see a lot of litigation around artificial intelligence, a lot. Most, if not all, of the AI purveyors are being sued for copyright infringement, trademark infringement, right of publicity, patent, all the things that I do every day. And there was just another one filed just 3 days ago against Google by some owner of content. So the litigation is going to cloud this environment, and we don't have any clarity from the US Supreme Court or any authoritative court on the issues that we're going to discuss today. So litigation is a concern for me in terms of AI having value. Do you really want to get in bed or involved with a technology that's probably going to cause you to end up being in court? That doesn't make sense to me. Okay, 1. 2, ownership and monetization. And Noah referred to this, and it's not just Noah, a copyright construct. And I do believe that almost every AI implementation has intellectual property constructs. I would challenge Noah or our viewers to provide me the name of a company that doesn't have some kind of intellectual property. Show me one, and we'll discuss it. I've never found one in 10,000 clients and 35 years of practice. So I think it's going to touch IP no matter what we do, Noah and Hailey. The third thing is that deal value. As we'll discuss, if you're going in to buy a company and you ask them as part of your due diligence, do you actually own what you're selling me? How much of this stuff you're selling me was created by an artificial intelligence? That has to be on every set of due diligence checklists now. Today, going forward, every due diligence checklist has to have that question. How much of what I'm buying was written by an AI? And if the answer is a lot, then guess what? The deal value goes to 0 because they don't own it, they can't sell it, you can't monetize it. It's just true. And then lastly, we have my concerns about breach of contract. Using an artificial intelligence inherently will cause you to breach contracts. And I'm happy to articulate what those are as we move through our discussion today, but there is just no way to avoid it. As you use artificial intelligence in your enterprise, you will breach contracts. You're going to breach non-disclosure agreements. You're going to breach warranties of title. You're going to breach warranties of accuracy. You're going to commit fraud. You're going to commit trademark infringement, copyright infringement. So Noah, does it have value? Sure. But From my perspective, that value is highly marginalized because of the legal risks we've just identified. And that is my opening statement.
Phenomenal. I knew you would come right out the gate. Okay. No, at this point, we are actually going to move into the cross-examination piece, which means, Noah, you're going to get exactly 4 minutes. If you need a little extra time, I might give you a little extra time to cross-examine Brad. And then, Brad, you're going to get the same opportunity with Noah. Okay?
Okay.
All right. Over to you, Noah.
Cross-examining an attorney of 35 years. This is gonna be fun. Okay, so
Here's Noah, let me give you the first question. Brad, you have to admit that AI has some value, right?
Well,
that's the first question.
I think that, I mean, you did speak about it, and I see that your opinions on its value are mitigated by the legal risks, which are framed largely by what you've experienced in your career. And I think I think in that context, it seems very similar to the way that a police officer, or a war veteran, or a bouncer might view how dangerous society is. They have this frame because they're in a highly specialized area that causes them to see the world through these particular set of circumstances, which means that when they go out, they say, hey, let's not go here because someone might be lurking around that corner. Whereas 99.99999% of people are never going to get mugged. They're never going to experience those realities that those people experience all the time. So that does create a very specific frame. And so I do want to, I mean, you acknowledged it, but it's relevant because if you do get mugged or you do get sued and your business goes under, that sucks. And a lot of this is about risk mitigation. But that's all on one side. And a lot of that has to do with money, the acquisition value, your court fees, your intellectual property, all that has to do with that. What I would like to point out is that for the vast majority of use cases, there is no requirement of any kind for intellectual property to be protected in any way. People are just trying to do things that work and help and save time. So if, for instance, like I have several clients that I work with where we're working AI into their processes, and some of them have absolutely no qualms whatsoever with how, like, where and whether or not they're creating intellectual property, or whether or not they can copyright any of the material that they're using. They're using it to speed up their workflows, like for instance, doing data analysis, which for a lot of companies is a big deal. You can take a massive, I'm talking to the tune of billions of rows of data, and have machine learning algorithms and AI go through it and do categorizations and extrapolate insights and do all those things. And there's no real drawback to using AI to do that, unless you're terrified that OpenAI is going to steal all your information and then do something horrible with it. But seeing as how OpenAI is 49% owned by Microsoft, if you're using Excel, and you should probably trust OpenAI. They're going by the same standards. They're SOC 2 compliant. The enterprise level has HIPAA compliance. They're just like any other company. They are one of the largest companies in the world now, especially OpenAI. It's not some of the smaller guys, maybe they're doing other stuff. But there are a lot of companies who are protecting the data. They're doing things in a very stringent manner as far as like protecting data. They're giving you options for how you would like to protect your data or have your stuff used or not used. And yes, some of it does come down to trust. But in the end, if I'm a business owner, and see, this my frame is this, like I go and work with businesses and I say, what are your problems? Where are your processes bottlenecked? What are you dealing with right now that's stopping you from getting to where you want to go? And they give me a list of reasons. And almost all of those reasons have to do with taking a tremendous amount of time to be able to do things. And people don't have the time to do things. So I'm like, oh, do you know that this thing could take, this amount of time? Oh, it used to take you 2 hours and now it takes you 10 seconds. That has value. Because at the end of the day, whether or not we sue or have intellectual property, that hour, 59 minutes and 50 seconds that you got back of your life, you can do anything with. And so this is not really so much about just IP or just how you're going to be able to be acquired at some point. And if you are doing that, of course, do your due diligence. That is something that you need to be taken into consideration. But when you take things where you can like cut your time in half or more, whatever time you have left, you can do anything with it. And that's a human issue. That's not a lawyer issue. That's not a business issue. That's the point where we get to like, this is existential. You know, we're all gonna die. Like we've been given a technology that has the ability to create enormous amounts of time like we've never seen before. And so I think even in the arena where you might get sued, you know, 5 years down the road, we don't know. Like, I mean, because if one person gets sued, I guess the whole world's going to have to get sued because the entire world is using AI. We're going to sue each other into the ground. But until then, until we have the AI apocalypse where everybody goes down the drain for using AI, in the meantime, I feel like there's going to be a lot of time saved that you can do a lot of things with. You can develop yourself, you can develop your business, you can spend extra time with your family, you can make extra money, you can create efficiencies. And all the while it's driving innovation, it's driving creativity. There are all kinds of jobs that are coming up, like what was it? Data analysts are up like 18% in the last 2 years because data is becoming so valuable. There's jobs being created, there are jobs being destroyed. Like there's just a lot of like flux happening, but it's become a part of our society. It is not going back in the bag. It is absolutely not. No, there is nothing you can say to me that will make me think that that will ever happen. So how are we going to deal with it? You know, that's the question. From my perspective, this is about saving time, which to me is about being human. And all the other areas, yes, due diligence. Brad, obviously, the only reason why me and you started talking was because I saw you present. And I remember I went to you afterwards and I was like, I loved what you said. And ladies and gentlemen, if you want to find someone who adheres to the facts, that is Brad Frazer. And that's one of the reasons why I loved it, because a lot of people out there spitting garbage about AI and they don't know what they're talking about. This guy knows what he's talking about, even though we disagree on this particular issue. But those are my thoughts. Sorry, I went over.
Oh, Hailey, we've lost your audio.
We can't hear you, Hailey.
That's okay. Brad, go ahead and take as much time as you need. We've got a little time, so you can respond.
Well, thank you, Hailey. Would you like me to cross-examine Noah, or would you like me to offer some rebuttal observations? What's your preference here?
I would like you to rebut first, okay? And then if you'd like to give Noah the option, we were good. We're about 10 minutes ahead, which is kind of great. So if you would like to give him the option to rebut, go ahead and let him know that. If not, you can just go ahead and launch into your next thing.
All right.
So I'll leave it up
Well,
to you.
Noah, thank you. And you know, you and I do agree on the fundamental issue of the human capital benefits to artificial intelligence. Certainly, we see increased productivity, and we see the ability for human beings to focus on other concerns besides compiling data or preparing a spreadsheet or writing a marketing pitch deck. It's true that artificial intelligence permits human beings to perhaps be more productive and more creative because the AI can do what the human was supposed to do or was paid to do or whatever. And you know, I completely agree that there may be a societal benefit to suddenly recognizing, hey, we can offload all this work to an AI, and that will permit me to go out and invent cold fusion, or that will permit me to go out and solve quantum computing and have quantum supremacy reign, right? So there's a lot of things, and I understand that, but we're not there yet, of course. And so the test for me, Noah, is this: what is the cost-benefit analysis to having a short-term gain in productivity versus, for the moment, a completely undefinable legal landscape, which creates legal risks for the user of the AI? And this is what I struggle with. What do I tell my clients? Do I tell them to use AI? Sure, but we have to go into it with a very critical mindset. We have to look at our AI usage policies, and we have to look at our contracts, and we have to look at our IP and our IP policies. So Noah, let's agree up front that you and I are agreed that AI has a form of value. Completely right. Human resource capital, increased productivity. But I have to look at it through the lens of, is it worth bearing all those unquantifiable legal risks to get that short-term bump in productivity? And that's why we're having this discussion today. So Hailey, I noticed some really interesting questions coming in. Did you want me to address those, or should we put those for the end of our discussion today?
I was going to put them in the Q&A, but listen, this isn't Hailey's little meeting. This is ours. And if you find that there are questions that are being raised that would be relevant to the conversation right now, absolutely go with it, bro. I'm down.
Brad?
No, did you see anything in the chat that piques your interest? There's a couple in there that have got my attention, but if not, I'll turn it back over to you. I mean, Noah, let me just ask.
Yeah.
Why do you feel so strongly about for sort of ignoring or disregarding those legal risks that are really real simply because someone can use AI to accrue a short-term benefit? What's your mindset when a client says, why should I use AI, Noah? What do you say to them?
Well, most of it does have to do with time. And so there's another strange paradox about the legal system in general and about business in general. And anyone who's watched Shark Tank for a long period of time, you'll see kind of both sides of this, right? Where someone comes up to them and they say, I have this kind of an idea, right? And if it is very heavy, if the value of the idea is very heavily weighted on the intellectual property, you'll see them really drive it. Do you have patents? Are you trying to get patents? How far are you into the utility patent process? But if it's not IP heavy, they say first to market wins. And in America, unfortunately, the legal system, and I imagine that most people's legal fees and probably at your law firm as well, are well beyond any small business's capability to actually pay for it. So what you will see happen is companies who, like there is one guy who made an app to respond to dating, like to automatically respond to messages on dating profiles. He came up with this idea. He did some pre-marketing. He launched it. He made $5 million the first day and then sold it for $10 million the next day. Now, if he infringed on some guy's property who was like, hey, I had IP for blah, 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 blah. Well, good luck beating him in court with that bank. You will not. Because the unfortunate thing is that first to market, no matter if you infringed on copyright or not, you'll be buried in legal procedures and court fees until you are forced to settle out, unless you have an incredible amount of perseverance to basically try to litigate broke with no knowledge in the field. You're not even going to win unless you have money. So you have this other strange paradox where those people who don't care about whether or not they're infringing on people's IP, if they go to market, they do it for a couple of years, make a few million, and then the person whose IP they stole finds them. The person with the money is more often probably going to win unless the person can find some way to pay for the incredible fees that come along with litigating these things for long periods of time. And this is your area. So if you have like extra knowledge about how this might work for someone who doesn't have money or doesn't have a lot of money to spend, I would love to hear that. But that is also an issue where it's like we place in this country a tremendous amount of value on the money itself. And even if someone has a really good case, they probably won't make it unless they can afford to litigate it. So that to me also stands out as a paradox. So when people say to me like, hey, how can I use AI for my business? I say, what are the things, the first thing I ask people, like, what do you hate doing? So like, even for me, I don't go straight to the thing that saves the most time, because for me, this is a quality of life issue. If you can find way, because like I said, to me, it's existential. Like I'm marching towards my death. And I think all of us are, unless there's someone immortal in the room, we're all going to end up dying at some point. And unfortunately, there may be a few moments at the end of our lives where we think like, did I actually do what I wanted to do with my life?
Right.
And I find that to be a very heavy thing when it comes to like, why should I do something that's going to save me time? There is inherent risk. Absolutely.
So let's take, very good. I think we're all agreed that there's time savings. Many of the commenters have said time savings, time savings, time savings. Great. We all save time using AI. Okay, great. But Noah, let me give you this hypothetical. So you're using AI in the enterprise and you're forced to sign a contract with a vendor. You're a government contractor or a client or a customer, and they want you to sign a contract that says, I warrant that I have a good right, title, and interest to give you use of this product. You can't do, that's not an IP issue. That's just a contract issue. No, there's no rebuttal to that. So it's far broader than IP, right? So you can save all the time you want, but the moment you use AI, you are going to be in breach of contract. You can't make warranties of title. You can't sign a contract. What if you have $1 million deal? Customer comes to you, Noah, and says, hey, no, I got $1 million deal and I'm using AI. And the contract says I warrant the accuracy of this output. Just yesterday, Noah, I negotiated a contract with a chatbot company, and I wanted them to warrant in the contract to my client that the AI would not hallucinate and would produce accurate content. Would they give me that warranty, Noah? No. So my client is naked. My client is outputting this stuff in chatbots to its customers on the internet with no warranty of accuracy, no warranty of title. That's not an IP issue. No, that's a contract issue. How do you respond to that?
Right. No, that's a great point. So for issues like that, your biggest problem is that, you know, that we're hyper focusing on AI. Did you also put into the contract that no person in the company is allowed to make a mistake of any kind on any procedure ever? That a person's not allowed to hallucinate.
You say that the vendor warrants that it will perform the services in a good and workmanlike manner in accordance with industry standards. That's the standard language used for human beings. But no, there is no analogous standard for an AI because it's not a human being. You see?
But there are industry standards. And if the AI can perform to industry standards.
Show me an AI industry standard promulgated by OpenAI or Microsoft or Meta that says my AI will not hallucinate. Show me that standard. I'll wait.
Well, I'll wait for any standard where there is something that says humans will not make mistakes.
That's not the point, Noah. We never cause humans to warrant their error-free. The point is that we have 2,000 years of human civilization creating a warranty of human performance. We have 1.5 years and no promulgated open AI standard in terms of the accuracy or the ability for the AI not to hallucinate. Where are those standards, Noah? Where's the industry standard that I want in my contracts? Where is it?
Well, I'm sure they'll be written soon. They're working feverishly on it.
Not from this vendor. I asked and they said no. So, you know, I challenge people listening. Where is the warranty of accuracy? Where's the warranty of title? Where's the warranty of non-hallucination from the AI vendors? It doesn't exist.
Can I interject a little as a moderator and ask the question? Is it really a question of changing the technology, or is it a question of changing our standards? Maybe that's an unrealistic standard to put on this technology. Now, I'll say this. There is technology. They're like Unriddle.ai. One of their big selling points is that they do not hallucinate, that it is completely based off the knowledge base that you provide it with. And so it will not hallucinate. It just won't give you an answer. Does that type of technology resolve some of your concerns, Brad?
It would, Hailey, and that's a good point. And my point, of course, is that not that I expect an AI to be error-free. And this is a bit hyperbolic, and we appreciate that.
I love it. Yeah.
But what we're looking for is some type of contract standard that we can hold an AI to. There isn't one, right? So one of the commenters says, we know an AI can't be error-free. Well, why not? Why can't they warrant a certain degree of accuracy in the output of an AI? Why not? Show me why we can't do that, commenter. There is no reason an AI can't be forced to contractually warrant some level of performance and accuracy, right? So let's circle back here. We started with the notion that AI has value. Gabe and I agree, or Noah and I agree on that. I don't know where Gabe is from. Noah and I agree on that.
Gabe's in the comments.
That's right. And so
hi, Gabe.
I think we have agreed, Noah, that we struggle with the value proposition, maybe long term. Now, let's assume a client wants to roll out AI into the enterprise. Okay. We know that there are a pool of downstream risks arising from that, legal and other risks arising from that AI usage. In your practice, Noah, how do you advise your clients on that? Do we not address that? Do we just stick our head in the sand like ostriches and pretend it doesn't exist? How do you ethically tell clients, use AI, let's all go AI, and ignore the legal risks? How do you ethically do that?
Well, like I said, for most people aren't doing things that require them to exclusively rely on the outputs of AI. It's very similar to that case that everybody knows where the lawyer brought the case into this fake case into his trial that was generated by AI, right? And everybody was like, Come on, man. Because he didn't do his due diligence, right? So if I have a self-driving car, that doesn't mean that because I buy a Tesla that I buy it and then take a nap while it takes a drive, right? If it gets into an accident, that's on me.
Right.
If I go and I get a tool, and that doesn't mean that I turn this power tool on and lay it on my counter. That's on me. Like we're just dealing with, now we have another piece of technology that does new stuff. The reason why it's difficult to quantify how we're going to hold it responsible is because it's behaving like a human. It's not a human. It's a computer program that's built on deep learning algorithms and machine learning and neural networks. It is running code. It's just running code like a million other machine learning algorithms that have been existing for the last 50 years that no one has said anything about in terms of, well, how we need to sue Google because I Googled something and I clicked on the first result and I accepted that was the most accurate answer. Well, that's on you.
Right.
We still have we have to do our due diligence to make sure that these things are accurate. And so for one company saying, we don't hallucinate and we guarantee that, great. Now they've taken the responsibility because, right? They're the ones who are like, I'll vouch for the fact that it is not hallucinating. If there's a company and they're not doing that, trust me, when I'm using OpenAI, when I'm using any AI, I will do the stuff. If it gives me a set of answers that has something to do with a quantitative or verifiable fact, I'm not going to repeat that until I get the source. And if I trust the source, then I may repeat it. Right.
So Noah, where's the value add then if you have to hire two people to replace the one person? Some of the commenters said, well, we'll create a job and hire an output validator. Where's the cost savings? Where's the benefit if I have to fire two people in marketing to use OpenAI that hire three to do validation of the content because it's going to hallucinate? I don't see the value construct, Noah. I'm missing that. Right.
So, for instance, one of my clients does quite a bit with Excel sheets, and they have to map data. They have to say, if this, then this, and do all these kinds of things inside of an Excel sheet. And they're not Excel masters. And it takes a long time to learn how to build those formulas. Well, it doesn't really take any time at all if you're using AI. Now, one of the things that makes it more interesting, because we're going to have to learn how to tell these systems to be more accurate and give us more accurate information, is because I used it, for instance, when I was moving. I had built a few apps to track a bunch of data, and then I found Notion, and I was like, oh, I love Notion. And so I scrapped those apps and put all my stuff into Notion. Well, I had a ton of data that were sitting inside of those applications. So what I do, I build a bot inside of GPT. I uploaded all of the CSVs, all the data from those three applications, and I gave it the formats that it had to adhere to, and I gave it a set of instructions, and it outputted every single thing for me. And I only had to do very minor changes. That process by itself, doing data mapping and data entry, that would have taken me weeks. It took me a couple hours. Where's the value in that? I get a couple weeks of my life to do whatever I want with it. It's a tremendous amount of value.
Fair, you know? But you can't warrant that you own that. You can't warrant the accuracy. You can't sell it. You can't protect it. Let's go through a hypothetical. Several of the commenters are challenging my assertion that you can't own Gen AI output. Well, guess what? You can't. And the reason is because that's the law in the United States today. It's the law throughout the world. So any of the AI fanboys who want to assert that they can own the Gen AI output is simply wrong. So let's go through a hypothetical. So Noah has a client, they're a media company. They use Gen AI to generate their marketing collateral, and they give it to a customer. Okay, one, they're in breach of contract because the customer wants them to warrant that it's accurate and that they have title to it. Can't. Moreover, I, the competitor, am free to go out to that website and copy and steal and use that content that Noah's company created using Gen AI with complete legal impunity. You can't sue me for copyright infringement. There's no patent infringement, nothing. So where's the value of creating a whole host of Gen AI generated content, Noah, that people can steal and use with legal impunity? Where's the value in that? Where's the value? I don't see it. Why would I use Gen AI to create a whole host of content that any of my competitors, let's be clear, can steal and use with complete legal impunity? You can't own it. You can't get a loan secured by it. You can't get insurance on it. Come on, commenters. Show me AI fanboys. They own Gen AI output. That's the law. I'm sorry. That's just the law.
Yeah.
Noah?
Yeah. Well, the reason is because, Brad, I don't need any. I'm not selling my CRM. I'm not
There you
selling
go.
my contacts. I'm not making any. There is no
Good.
money exchange. It's just time, and so the value is time. And so if my
That's the
time is
answer.
valuable, then AI is valuable. You know.
Well done. That's the answer. So
and
if
so-
you say to me that an enterprise has no IP, doesn't care if people steal and use my stuff with impunity, we don't care about breach of contract. A lot of the commenters are going, it's just a cost of doing business. You know, it's just a cost. Okay, but let's consider what those costs really are, right? A future lawsuit for breach of contract, a future debarment as a government contractor, a future lawsuit for copyright infringement, future lawsuit for patent infringement, trademark infringement, a future lawsuit for breach of warranty or disclosing an NDA. Think about this, Noah. So you go out to your AI and you enter a prompt, because now there's prompt engineers, right? And everybody likes to have these paragraph long prompts. So you enter it. Have you now violated a non-disclosure agreement? Probably. What about that? That's not an IP risk. That's a pure contract risk. So all the glib AI fanboys, where's the defense that says I can just go out and enter any old thing I want into a prompt and be insulated from liability for violating an NDA? How about that? Let's take that one.
Well, violating an NDA, again, this comes down to the user. If I take anything, any information in under any context of an NDA and put it anywhere,
Sure.
I could put it on social media. That's still a violation. It doesn't require AI to violate an NDA. It's just there. It's sitting there on the side, right? We don't have to go to it to do anything or not do anything. It just is there. And so and I mean, again, this is kind of the scope of it. The scope of AI is so enormously broad, so far beyond even business application. There was a video that I saw the other day that I posted where there's hospitals that are using camera systems to help monitor the behaviors of people in hospital beds and alert them if anything concerning is happening, because they have mapped all of this data and they're able to track when somebody is maybe disturbed, or maybe there's a sudden stop in their breathing, or if they start to get excited, and that can save a life. Is that valuable? Does it matter what the IP is? I don't think so. For every family member of the person who has a safer person in the hospital, I don't think they give any.
So let me interject there and say, okay, I think we've reached another point of agreement here, and that is the internal use of AI to manipulate data. There you go. That's great.
Yeah.
That's a perfect use case for AI. You know, get yourself an LLM and train it on your own content. Train it on your own content and use it internally to manipulate your own internal data. That, as an IP lawyer's perspective, is a perfect use case for Gen AI. And you don't disagree with that. My problem is that we're displacing what? You saw the WGA strike. What was one of the main problems the writers had in the WGA strike, Noah? You know this, use of AI. Because with the stroke of a pen, they can fire 100 writers and 100 screenplay writers and graphic artists by using AI. Well, I have a problem with that, right? For all the reasons we've articulated. But no, I think we are agreed. Let's pause here. You and I can agree that a good use case for for Gen AI or AI, is to train it on data you own. Have an LLM that is either trained on data you own or on fair data. That's a thing now. You know that fair data, right? That's a big thing. Okay. Use it internally to manipulate your own data and save time and fire employees. Great. I'm all about that. Are we agreed that that's a good use case?
Yeah. I mean, of course, training on your own data. Sure.
There you go. So there you go. And so now all the fanboys in the chat room can go, okay, and at least we now have agreement that there is a good use case for AI. Brad is rational. He recognizes a good use case for AI. But Noah, you and I both know that clients aren't that disciplined to keep it in those parameters. So they're spinning up content to put on the internet. They're spinning up content to sell to clients. They're spinning up content to market their stuff. They're spinning up content for social media, all of which has this horrible host of downstream legal problems that the law just simply doesn't have answers for today. What's the answer to that? I don't think there is one.
I think you see the chat, Brad. I am a fanboy.
I know that, right? So I like to take on the fanboys, and I know who Dwight is. And hi, Dwight. And no, I know you're not a fanboy. You're much more reasoned than that, and I like talking to you because you have a reasonable, articulate approach, and you're not just a slavering fanboy. And I appreciate that, Noah. So agreed, though, that there is a good use case for AI. But let's circle back to that, Noah. What if a client, a media company, an advertising agency comes to you and says, Noah, we need you to help us implement Gen AI tools in our advertising agency. We're going to be generating one sheets and posters and content and videos and songs and pictures and media for social media. What does Noah say? Let's do the gig, sign the contract, or do you say, wait a minute? No, seriously, Noah, what's your answer to that?
Right. And so we're digging deeper into the copyright laws. Now, I know that inside of contracts, like let's say we're dealing with Adobe, because Adobe has the capability to do all kinds of generative stuff inside of Photoshop.
Right.
If you use Adobe products, and they are saying if the stuff that comes from us, like we protect you at least to some degree. Like the copyright laws themselves, they don't support AI generated content, except for what is considered to have a significant human contribution. Is that the verbiage that they use?
Yeah.
Significant. Yeah.
That's very good, Noah. Yeah.
Yeah, I think.
Wait, don't lose your train of thought. Don't lose your train of thought. But let's explain what Noah means by that. So you hear me screaming at the top of my lungs that you can't own Gen AI output. May I just digress for a moment, Noah, and tell the audience why?
Please, yeah.
Okay, here's why. For 500 years, there's been a body of law called copyright law. 500 years, right? And it has always contemplated human authorship and creativity. Human authorship and creativity. Those are subjective standards established by 500 years of case law, a body of statutory law, and arbitrary examiners at the Copyright Office. There you go. Okay, for the moment, both the Copyright Office and the Federal Circuit Court have all said an AI has insufficient human attributes and cannot creatively generate copyrightable content. That's why. So if all the fanboys want to change that, write to your legislators and say, dear Senator Jones, please convince the Supreme Court to declare that an AI has human attributes like Robin Williams and Bicentennial Man. Sincerely, AI fanboy. When you get somebody to acknowledge that an AI is a human being and has human attributes and can author a work of copyrightable stuff or can invent something under the patent laws, then I go retire. I go retire, and Noah sells Gen AI till the cows come home, and I retire because my battle is done. Okay, let me pause there. That's why you can't own it.
Yes. Truth. So,
okay.
Copyright. They said copyright the
prompt. Ken says, I'm sorry, I can't stop it myself, Hailey. Ken says, I don't know who Ken is. He says, copyright the prompt. You can't, Ken, because they're not sufficiently creative to merit copyright protection. And if you have to add enough content to the prompt to make it copyrightable, you have now completely eviscerated the value proposition because you've had to write 5 paragraphs, 700 words of a prompt to create copyright. And that doesn't create a copyright in the output, just the prompt, Ken. Where's the value in that?
Geez, Ken, where's the value in that?
Yeah, Ken.
Yeah, Ken. You can't copyright the prompt. You can't have the prompts. It's a nice idea, Ken, but it's a bad idea.
Could you copyright a book of prompts? So like maybe the whole bunch of them. Does that count?
Sure, but you don't have a copyright in the output, Hailey. So where's the value?
I don't,
I'm not really a fan of the prompt library.
We're sorry, Ken. We were trying to attack you, Ken. It's hard to fight from
the sidelines. Hailey, let's set up another one of these with me and Ken, or Noah and me and Ken. I don't know who Ken is. Ken, come on, buddy. Jump over, come into the squared circle, Ken. We'll have one of these with you and me and Noah. Let's go, brother.
I want to just... We're not attacking you, Ken. Well, I'm not attacking you, Ken. I was trying to be funny.
This is a debate, right? This is a debate, and it was supposed to be a little bit hyperbolic, and so Ken wouldn't have signed up if he wasn't, able to. So Ken says yes, and I don't know which Ken you are. Are you the Ken of? I can't say any names because I'll violate attorney-client privilege if you're the Ken I'm thinking.
No, let's not do that.
Okay. Anyway, yeah, I'm happy to take you on, Ken. I don't see any arguments that support your position, Ken, in the chat room.
Ken and Brad at the next great debate. Got it. Maybe Dwight and Noah can team up.
Yeah. Bring them on. I want to hear somebody argue. That there is value in AI from an IP perspective, from a contract perspective. Everybody keeps saying, Noah, that, we'll just ignore all this, and we're just going to ignore all this. We're going to save time. Somebody keeps saying it's a cost of doing business. It's a cost of doing business. We get AI, and it's a cost of doing business. That is a naive perspective for a CIO, a CTO, a CMO to take. Just say, let's just do Gen AI. It's a cost of doing business, because apparently nobody in the chat room has ever been sued. Apparently, you've never been sued, because getting sued, having the DOJ or having the Idaho Department of Justice or the Department of Finance knocking on your door because you're selling an unauthorized security. Some kind of coin you spun up in your garage. I don't know. Sorry, I digressed into crypto there. But apparently nobody in the chat has ever been sued. And when you get sued,
which is interesting, Brad.
You get sued and you have to bankrupt your company because you committed breach of contract or copyright infringement. I mean, OpenAI is getting sued in 25 different lawsuits over copyright infringement for Gen AI. The only reason they can withstand that is because they're funded by Microsoft, right? What about you, Ken, or whoever, small CEO, small company, and you withstand a $100 million lawsuit? Answer, no. And you don't have any insurance. You know why? Because insurance companies don't insure Gen AI out. Okay. I mean, there's okay, no, go.
So this is nascent technology, right? Very new-ish generative AI. And I kind of look like the legal system is cutting its teeth on the very meaty bones of OpenAI. And the people who created OpenAI knew this. They knew this going into it.
And
not everyone is going to be using AI with the auspices of we're using this to advance where we're going. So to use OpenAI as an example of what could happen to us it's intellectually dishonest, because that isn't, and as your moderator, I'm going to call you on that, because we're not trying to lead the AI pack. We're trying to use it. OpenAI is very much the Spartacus in this army of AI. So I just wanted to point that out. And the other piece that I will mention that I'm surprised that the fanboys and Noah have let you get away with is there is a lot of value of generative AI beyond what you can copyright. I mean, there's a lot of my social media posts, for example, are using generative AI. I don't care if someone takes that shit and repurposes it. That's kind of the
fair,
right?
Right.
So and so my final question for you, and I'm going to get it back to the group, and then we need to open up for questions here, is that ultimately, Brad, is it fair to say that your main objections with AI right now is that we don't have the proper laws to contain it? And if we could update the law accordingly, then you would be happy-go-lucky, going to retire, happy rich man. Is that a fair regurgitation of what you were saying? Okay.
Yes.
So really, it's not an issue with AI it's an issue with the legal system and how freaking slow we are in this country to ever adapt our infrastructure to our realities.
Yes, Hailey. And it's also about, with respect to my friend Noah, it's also about the reluctance of the fanboys to acknowledge the legal environment in which they operate. I don't get that. Attention fanboys, why do you ignore the legal environment in which you operate? Is it because you're never going to sell your company? You're never going to seek an investment round? You're never going to go out with a pitch deck? You're never going to have to go get a loan? You're never going to have to go get insurance? You're never going to sign a contract? You don't care if your competitors steal and use your stuff with impunity. If that's all true, then sign me up, AI fanboys. But which of you CEO AI fanboys can say that every one of those is true? You're never going to go seek an investment round? You're never going to go sell your company? Come on. Noah, back to you.
Well, we will sign you up, Brad. Yes, we absolutely will.
Ken, whoever Ken is, Ken says, because we're explorers and innovators, Ken, you've obviously never been sued. Apparently. I don't know who you are. Maybe I do. Tell me in the chat, have you been sued, Ken, in federal court for copyright infringement or breach of contract for $100 million? Have you been sued, Ken? No. Ken says no.
No. Brad. So hey, you know what? So this is kind of to the point.
Here's my favorite saying: it's all academic until you get sued. It's all academic until you get sued. This is a great fun discussion, but until one of you gets sued for using Gen AI, then you see it. You're going to go, "Oh, Brad was right. Oh, crap."
It might surprise you, Brad, that I have 2 paralegal certifications. I have one as a general paralegal and also one in business and corporate law. And I did do quite a bit of paralegal work for years. And and also, my background, it comes from graphic design and marketing. So I'm well acquainted with IP and copyright laws. I've read the entire USPTO handbook, and I had secured for what do you call those? The provisional patents, like in pursuit of some other patents, and I just never went through with the other thing. I've gone through this process a lot, and we had a lot of talks about copyrights and all these different types of things. And the reason why I even got involved with AI in the first place, because I realized that I had high exposure to being replaced as a graphic designer by AI, because my value as a graphic designer declines when everyone realizes they can generate what I do instantly, what would take them lots of money and lots of time. And so for me, as someone trying to pay bills, I see value in learning how to use that, because at the end of the day, yes, we are in it. There is a legal sphere. And, to be honest, most people don't care about a lot of laws unless they feel like they're at exposure to being punished by them.
Isn't that true, Noah? Isn't that true?
Yeah.
Well said, my friend. Yeah.
And so I think what we're dealing with, Brad, and what you see from the fanboys, and maybe I'm a little bit towards the fanboy side, but I do like to stay kind of dead even with my perspectives. But I think what the main thing is people saying, like, it's a cost of business, it's a this, it's a that. It's the same reason why people speed. It's the same reason why, probably 50% of the people in Idaho are still using illegal drugs. And they go to Oregon 3 times a week to go grab them, and they don't care. You know what? Because it's not just the cost of doing business, it's the cost of life. Everything we do is a cost benefit analysis. And because 0.0001% of people who are ever doing business are going to face a business ending lawsuit, they don't care about the risk. They just don't. And the idea that we're going to be able to get them to care preemptively is very difficult. That's a tough argument. How are you going to sell that to somebody,
Gosh, Noah, well said. I mean, that's a great, maybe concluding thought, Noah. That's brilliant. And I agree with you. So to find a note of commonality, I fully agree with that. And it's disappointing to me as a lawyer that the fanboys are so glib about all that, and they just ignore the legal realities of using AI. I get it. It's fine. My job, though, is to say to the fanboys and the CEOs who use Gen AI, be aware of the legal environment. You're not going to get insurance. You can't own it. People can steal it. You can't sign contracts. No more NDAs. And if that trade-off is worth it, because it's all academic until you get sued, great. But trust me, when you go to sell that business and they do due diligence on you and they find out you use Gen AI and you're in breach of all your contracts, the buyer will walk out of the room. I know that because I've done it. So Noah, you and I are fully agreed until somebody has to get a loan or sell their company or they get sued, and then the wheels come off the bus. That's true. But other than that, you and I are fully agreed.
I think this is a great transition to go to our audience Q&A. So if while we give the folks some time to actually go in and put some questions, there are a few. I didn't know if there were any in the chat that you may have wanted to address ahead of time. Let's see. I know that they've talked about Brad. Talk about the monkey that took its own selfie.
Sure.
So what happens when you have animals? You have animals.
Yeah, a guy in the jungle left his camera out, and a monkey came up and clicked the shutter and took a selfie. And PETA, the People for Ethical Treatment of Animals, filed a lawsuit attempting to claim copyright ownership in the monkey. And PETA lost, and the monkey lost. And the reason was the same as the AI. The monkey's not a human. And even though the human being set the camera there and created the means for the monkey to click the shutter, that wasn't sufficient human authorship to create a copyright. And so if there was any author or owner of that copyright, it was the human being who left the camera out for the monkey. That's the case.
So is that true for like there's animals that paint, right? There's like the goat with the paintbrush, and that's true for anything that's an animal.
Today, there is no human authorship in a non-human entity or animal, including AI.
What about animal rights though, Brad?
I know.
I think the cows in the Chick-fil-A commercials deserve a little compensation.
Hailey, I have read 100 copyright cases about that issue, and they all say the same thing.
Oh,
Copyright law requires human authorship, and until the law changes, that's just the law.
wow.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So, all right. So Kevin says, what about being first to market gets you a ton of money and then dissolve your company if sued? So looks like.
Well, this is, yeah, man, no.
See what I'm talking about, Brad?
Kevin, brother, you're singing my song. This is America, bro. That's what people do. They form a company, they run it, they make 10 mil, they go to get sued, and they go bankrupt. And you move on. You're 35, and you form your new LLC, and you do it all over again. Okay, if you're comfortable ethically with that business style, okay, cool. That's not how I do it. But if you want to start a business knowing you're going to get sued and lose, bankrupt the company, relieve all of your creditors without a penny, and move on to your next LLC, cool. I have clients that do that. I don't do it. It's true.
Okay, I do have a question for you, Brad.
Sure.
Can you, in a minute or less, give an overview as you understand it of where we are with our copyright laws as it relates to AI? What's on deck? Are there groups of people out there working to change this, or is it just this like a not nebulous problem we don't understand that no one's tackling?
Sure. I'll be very brief. Okay, so there's a guy named Taylor, Thaler, Taylor. He's a very vocal plaintiff advocate for AI rights. And he has filed lawsuits trying to get copyrightability in AI content and patentability in AI content. So far, Taylor has lost. However, the Copyright Office and the Patent Office, both, this is what Noah said earlier, recently changed the rules and said, you can claim some small percentage of copyright ownership and authorship and patentability in the human contributions to AI output. So if you take an AI output and add a lot of human creativity, which undermines the value proposition because you have to have humans adding value. But if you do that, you still can save money. Then yes, Hailey, those human authored and invented elements can be protected, but the core seminal AI elements may not be under current US law. And until we see a court respond to Taylor or the Patent Office or the Copyright Office changes that law, that's just true. That's the law today.
Fascinating.
Oh, I'm sorry. I gotta also say this. And all you fanboys, no court has held that the scraping, the unmitigated, unlicensed, unlawful scraping of the internet by OpenAI and all these other LLMs is fair use. And one of you is going to say, what about the Google Books case, Brad? Well, you know what? Call me. I have a brief already written on the Google Books case. Nobody has declared that scraping, unmitigated scraping, is a fair use, and it's flat out copyright infringement. There you go.
So like that would include in your mind scraping, like OpenAI scraped YouTube, right? They have a bunch of the YouTube in your mind. So to walk me through that, help me understand that. It's something that people have already put out there, right?
Right.
How is that different from an artist who goes in and you just, you learn, you get inspired? How is that different?
Because Hailey, because the law says so. There's a statute, a federal law, a statute that says reproducing, that's literally what it says, reproduction is copyright infringement. So when you go into an art gallery and you're inspired and you go home and get out your acrylics and paint a seascape because you're inspired, Hailey, you haven't reproduced anything. You've kept an ephemeral memory image in human memory, and that's not reproduction under the law. When you go in with your phone and take a photograph, that's reproduction. It just is. And that's what those LLMs are doing. They're going on. Everybody tries to go, oh, we're not really doing it. We're memorizing. We're looking. We're not reproducing. Well, baloney. The LLMs are scraping content, and they are literally reproducing it ephemerally in computer memory so they could train the LLM. That's copyright infringement, and that's the difference, Hailey.
Is it really though reproduction? Like you look at Midjourney.
It is.
Is it really one-to-one copy and paste? Because it doesn't. I don't think it really is.
You don't even have to paste it. You just have to reproduce it. And it's OpenAI. Let's read the briefing together, Hailey. Let's go read the brief. Okay?
I'm not a technical person.
I'll send you the brief.
Brad.
OpenAI has admitted that they copied, reproduced the content to train their LLM. They admitted it, Hailey. It's not even in debate anymore.
Yeah, no.
They scraped it, they reproduced it, they admitted it. So that argument is over with.
Well, scraping, I didn't know if that scraping meant reproducing. So, okay, sorry, no, go ahead.
They're the same.
I was just
Hailey, they are
making the comment.
They are synonyms. Noah can jump in here. Scraping and reproduction under 17 U.S.C. 106. Go look it up. 17 U.S.C. 106. Read it. Reproduction is copyright infringement. Scraping is reproduction because an ephemeral copy is being made in computer memory. Hailey, that's the Google Books case.
I see. That makes sense. See, this is so valuable. Thank you.
So,
hey, we're a little fanboy. Why are the commenters quieted down? I'm a little disturbed. Come on, commenters. Sorry,
he wasn't referring to the output when he was saying that it was being copied. There doesn't need to actually be technically an output. They copied the stuff to train it. That's what he was saying. You don't have to even output anything. As soon as it gets scraped, you've made a copy of it for your records to do your training, and that's where the infringement will have happened.
That's very good, Noah. Well said, my friend. And that's why, Hailey, I encourage you either train using fair content or train it using content you own the rights to, because now you're not committing copyright infringement. And there's Noah alludes to a different issue. The output may be sufficiently transformative to be a fair use, but that's not the issue in all those cases. The issue is the scraping, Hailey.
Fascinating.
But this is where it's interesting. This is where we're getting into what was happening when like squatters, for instance. Squatters go into a house, and then someone's like, "Hey, you can't be here." Cool. Go find all the people who own all of those subprime split up loans that are split across 1,000 owners and investors, and get into all these AAA bonds and scattered all over the planet. And if you can get them all 51% of them to agree, you can kick me out of the house. Good luck. Same thing. How are you going to take the millions upon millions upon millions of text content and billions, trillions of pieces of information scattered across the internet and get all of those people to be like, we all agree that this particular output was the result of some you're fighting a battle. And not only that, it's a civil case. It's a civil case. You have to prove damages. You have to. You will not win a lawsuit in IP if you can't prove that you've been damaged in somehow, and that is according to certain legal standards. And so if you're not doing that, and you're going out and you're creating your content, and you're doing this, and you're using Sora, and you're using LLMs, good luck someone trying to find you and be like, I'm suing you for copyright infringement, or you don't own that. Well, good luck trying to prove it.
You know what, brother, I hear you. You're talking about the realities of litigation, but that doesn't change the fact that prior to, as a condition preceding to some of that litigation, you're signing contracts or getting loans or selling your company. All of those risks is completely apart from the litigation environment, right? And I think we're agreed on that. But your point's well made. Many of the fanboys said, nobody has the money to sue for copyright infringement. Let's flip that 180. It's not about you having the money to sue somebody. It's the risk of your being sued for copyright infringement. Because here's an example. Just the other day, I took my version of Llama on Meta, Facebook, and I said, this is the literal prompt, and maybe some of you saw this on LinkedIn. I said, imagine a scary clown living in a sewer that captures children. And I hit enter. And what did Llama generate as the image? The scary clown from It. Identical. That's not a transformative fair use. That's copyright infringement. Where did that LLM get that image? It went out and scraped it off the internet. Boom, 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 copyright, 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 they lose.
Okay, looks like we've got lots of good questions in here. Kevin, let's start with him. Good prompting is about the conversation, not just talk. Does it change at all having a conversation? And can you copyright that conversation, since a good prompt is more about a longer conversation with the Gen AI?
Yes, that's very good, Kevin, thank you. If the the prompt conversation is sufficiently creative to merit copyright protection under current standards, if you want to go read the case, Kevin, you can find the Feist, F-E-I-S-T. Go to Google and type Feist, F-E-I-S-T, Supreme Court case. That's the case that establishes the standard for creativity. And if your prompt conversation passes the Feist standard, then you arguably can have a copyright in that chat prompt, or that chat conversation, prompt conversation. But again, so what? The output's not protectable under copyright law. So what are you getting by having a copyright in this this prompt conversation? I mean, okay.
I'm not sure that the copyright matters. I did something really interesting, Brad. You would love this because you can do this however you want. I took my iPad and I took my phone and I logged into GPT on both sides. I went away from my iPad and I did this. I did the thing in the video. I was like, this is inspiring. I said, hey, I'm a business consultant and I do AI work for people. And this is the place that I'm at in my business. And these are my goals. I want you to play that role. And when I say you're going to be talking to a business coach, and I want you to be dig really deep for solutions. And I came to my iPad and I said, hey, iPad, you are a business coach. You have this amount of expertise and you're going to be giving knowledge to a such and such. And then I let them talk to each other and I just listened. Right. And I was just like, wow, this is really good advice. And the knowledge that I'm getting goes in here. And whatever I do with it is mine, which is sufficiently human. And it is very arguable under any standard that knowledge has more value than any of these outputs, because you can't take that from me. You can't sue that away from me. You can't come into my brain and download it and ask me where I got the stuff from. Like, so even in that situation, every single time I have a conversation with GPT and I'm getting good advice and I'm learning from it and I'm doing better outputs and I'm learning how to speak better. And now I am actually speaking more clearly because I speak to it so often that I have to enunciate my words, and it's making me a better public speaker. Like, all of these things are things that you can't take away from me, Brad. You can't sue them away from me. You can't tell me that they don't have value. And I was like, my life is getting better. My time is getting shorter. My work is becoming more efficient.
True, Noah, but I can sue you and get an injunction to stop you from using any of those outputs ever.
Good luck.
I can.
I mean, don't come after me, Brad. I don't want to go.
I understand your point, but it's incorrect to say, that's mine to use forever and ever. Not true. All I have to do is sue you and get an injunction, and you can't use it, right? That's just true. So, okay, but to Noah's point, okay, I'll admit this to this group, sure. So just as a test, I wrote a hypothetical answer to this question. What are some best practices to incorporate music samples into my song without losing a copyright infringement lawsuit? Pretty good, right? I know the answer to that. I've done this for 35 years. So I wrote up an answer, and then I asked ChatGPT the same question. You know what? ChatGPT's answer was better. It was better, and I admit that. Now, I didn't use it, but like Noah, I learned from that. I missed one of the main ways to sample music. I just flat missed it, and OpenAI knew it, right? So there you go. So, hey, fanboys, Brad admits there's a
Brad, you don't even know what's happening right now. We're converting you. Like a year from now, you're going to be Brad Frazer, the AI lawyer.
AI lawyer, right? I hear you, brother. The problem, though, is that, and I keep seeing these comments about, it's just the cost of doing business, the cost of risk. Okay, but let me review my list. That means that all of you fanboys and all of you CEOs are willing to assume the risk of never getting sued, never signing a contract, never signing an NDA, never having to get a loan, never having a pitch deck, never having to go out and pitch and have investors, never selling your company. Which of you in the chat are willing to agree right now to me, all of those things? You're never going to do any of them, and that's the cost for using AI. It really is. That's the legal cost for using AI. And the chat room goes silent.
They're furiously typing away.
Yeah, I'm sure they are.
Furiously typing you. I thought Kayla, who, by the way, I think is my cousin Kayla Erminger. Go girl. Shout out to my sister.
Kayla.
Okay. Thoughts on the Luxembourg copyright case against Jeff Deichberg, Jinga Zhang's photograph to oil painting. So curious, and apologies if I butchered any of those names.
Noah may know about that one. I confess, I read as much as I can, and I'm not familiar with that. Noah, do you know that case? I don't.
I don't know.
Okay, so I'm sorry to Kayla. Is it Kayla?
Yep, Kayla, you'll have to type it in. Let us know, girlfriend, because that's new to me too.
Send us a link. Send us a link to the news story, or send me an email or something, and I'll answer you for free in an email because I'm curious now too.
Awesome.
No, yeah. We're about our research.
Hey, that's Kayla. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I have a vague recollection. I read a headline about that, but not enough to comment here. I'm sorry.
That's all right. We don't expect you to know everything, just most things. Okay, and then Kevin asks, what about copyright being supported in another country that we have reciprocity with?
Right, very good, Kevin. So there is this thing called the Berne, B-E-R-N-E, the Berne, go look it up, Berne Convention. And that is a copyright treaty with 136 signatory countries, including the United States. And so if a country is a Berne signatory, then we all agree that we're going to have essentially similar copyright laws. So to your point, if a Berne country, not China, not Iran, if a Berne Convention country gives copyright protection to AI-generated output, then there's an argument that the U.S. should follow suit under the Berne Convention, but that's not happened. If you can find a Berne Convention signatory that has given a copyright protection to an AI signatory, let me know. And then that means you now write to your legislator and you say, hey, man, Japan has given AI protection and they're a Berne signatory, we should follow suit. That's how that would work.
Really? So, Brad, you actually pay attention. I mean, I don't want to say actually. You pay attention to what the other countries are doing as well, don't you? Yeah.
Yeah.
Are there other countries that are a little further ahead with their AI laws than us?
Not really. You'll see occasional headlines posted by the fanboys where they say, China gave copyright protection to AI. Well, okay, so what? I mean, that doesn't help us. The United States are not a burned signatory. They're a communist country.
Interesting. Okay, this is an important question. Okay, how much of a work? This is from Daniel. How much of a work has to be human generated to be copyrightable? Is Adobe Photoshop advertising generative fill actually a Trojan horse that will result in digital artists not owning their works anymore? Fabulous question, Daniel. What do you guys think?
Yeah. Well, I'll take a stab at it. So you're going to hate this answer,
It's okay.
but you have to add. Okay. So you start with a seminal Gen AI output or whatever. You have to add enough sufficient original layers of human creative expression so that you have created more than a mere derivative work of the AI original under copyright law principles. How much is enough to convert it from a derivative work into a wholly new copyrightable work? Answer: a lot. And there's no, you don't want to say 30%, 60%. Come on, Brad. There is no bright line, as we say, test. Add enough sufficient new original creative human expression so that the underlying seminal AI work is not, so that your work is not merely a derivative work under copyright law principles. Answer: a lot. That's the real answer. You've got to change it a lot to be able to legitimately, authentically register a copyright, own a copyright, sell a copyright, prosecute and monetize a copyright in Gen AI output. You got to change it a lot. You do.
Great. This is really good. I'm sorry I'm peppering you with so many questions, Brad. It's just I know that this is a really big top issue. So thank you so much for answering these questions. There are two more in the chat that I think we really should address, and they're kind of related. Gary asks, if I hire a contractor for my business and they use AI, what should I do? Following that, with the two-parter, how does negligence come into play? So say you sign a contract knowing full well that you are in breach of, because you can't uphold it because of your use of AI. And how do you kind of navigate those things?
Yeah. Noah, do you want to take either of those? I mean, you can answer that first one about what if you've got a contractor and he wants to use AI? What would you advise him? It's a good question.
Oh, that's crazy. You say that. It's almost like I'm a contractor that uses AI.
So, to be clear, I have a very specific legal answer, but let's let Noah take one.
Yeah. So here's the okay. So there's the legal sphere, and this is that in that way that yeah, I did the thing. I didn't mean to do that. That's going to end up being a soundbite, right?
How do you make it?
I can never reproduce them. Like they just
look at that. That's like blowing smoke rings, Hailey. Well done, man. Okay, sorry. Noah, go ahead.
So inside of the legal sphere, there is the law as it currently stands, and then there's going to be the law as it changes in the next few years that we don't know about, right? That's kind of like happening over here. In the practical side of it, you working with a contractor, and also if you working in a company and you have employees, if you're working with other people, the chances that something you're doing, some output that you have touching AI is nearing 100% very fast. And no one will be able to be protected if the standard is that we don't know where it's coming from and who. This is the practical side of it. It's very similar to like, right now, again, because it seems like it's doing human stuff, we are anthropomorphizing it to such a degree that we forget it's just a computer program, and it is nothing more than a computer program. And so once that becomes less of a sensationalized thing, it's going to be just like a camera. Did I create every pixel inside of it? No, I didn't. I just pushed a button and the camera created it. Does that mean that it was not created by a human being and that I haven't? Nope, because we just accept that this is how cameras work. And because I decided to snap the button or maybe prompt the AI, that this is how I got my output. We are not there yet. And I think that there is no future where that is not where we're headed. I can't imagine it. Because like I said, it's not going back in the bag. These companies are investing hundreds of billions of dollars, all of the biggest companies on the planet. Like to so much of a degree, these are the people who own the world. Google, Facebook, your Meta, Tesla, and now Anthropic and Nvidia, they own the planet. These are the people who are putting all of the money into AI. You think that someone's gonna do a lawsuit somewhere and they're gonna be like, oh, well, shut it all down, shut down GPT,
No.
shut down the, it's not gonna happen. It's just not going to.
I agree. I agree. No, that's a very good answer. But here's my response to that. Ready? Okay, I will steal and use all of their stuff with complete legal impunity and not pay for it. Where's the monetization strategy in that? When I can steal and use and copy and monetize their stuff with complete legal impunity. You see, that doesn't make any sense to me. So they're pouring billions of dollars into this industry, and I and others like me can steal it and use it, Noah, with complete legal impunity. I'll say it again, complete legal impunity. Where is the monetization strategy in having an asset that I can't lawfully sell or monetize or protect? It makes no sense. So to go back to the question, I have recently revised all of my contracts. So when a client hires an independent contractor, I make them warrant that they're not using Gen AI. And all of you are going, what? You're a Luddite. That's such an anachronism, Brad. Everybody uses Gen AI. Okay. The point of this whole discussion is now you know as the CEO what you're getting into from a risk standpoint when you hire a contractor that's using AI. You can't warrant the title. You can't own it. You can't sell it. You can't protect it. You can't copyright it. You can't patent it. Great. Use that contractor. Use them. I don't care. The point is now you know the legal risk using that contractor. And I have now revised all of my contracts to say you can't disclose, my NDAs all now say you can't disclose it to an artificial intelligence. How about that? And my contractor agreements say that my contractors can't use Gen AI. How about that? That's the answer to Gary's question.
And so, Brad, you asked about the value. Where's the value? If you can come and steal my thing, you're talking about stealing the output. You're thinking about the output. The value is not the output. The value is the factory that made it. You can steal my car. You can steal my Ferrari. But if I have a Ferrari factory, if I have factories all over the world, you've done nothing to hurt me.
Yeah.
If I want to, maybe I'll come after you, maybe. But I don't care because I'm Google. You think you can hurt Google because you want to sue them for an output? You can't. They'll sue you into the ground. They'll destroy your life because they have money, because the world runs out of money. I don't know. In the factory.
Right. No, I'm a bit myopic, right? I admit that. I'm looking at it from the standpoint of a content creator. Right, because I represent authors and artists and movie producers and book authors and media companies. I represent all those guys. And so they're affected because they have no means of controlling the downstream exploitation of their content. But your point's well made. The Ferrari factory is intact. No, it's a great analogy.
And Brad, I do want to speak to that just briefly because I come from that world. I was a creator. I merged into AI because I was a creator who saw I was going to get pushed out, that my skill set was no longer going to be valuable. I spent a long time learning how to be a good graphic designer. And I still get to use those skills when I'm prompting, when I'm making things and I want to customize them, I get to. But I realized that my value as a graphic designer plummeted when generative AI came out. And also as a writer, I've written a lot. And I have 3-4 full-length books. I have 12 short stories that I have not touched because Gen AI came out. I thought to myself, I want to be a writer one day. But now if I do it, I'm just going to have to do it for the love of it, not because I want to make money off of it. I don't think that it's even feasible for me to try to do that. Not only because there are so many books coming out, but anybody could generate an entire book with AI now if they want to.
Yeah, you're right.
Try to go and, and so I'm not immune to these effects on people who are doing these things. But in reality, in the practicality, this is stuff that we cannot avoid. It's just not going anywhere. And I really appreciate the fact that you're sticking up for those people. Does that say true crime? Oh, The Cure.
Okay, no, that's my book. Okay. Everybody read my book. Read my book. But the point is that, I wrote that. That's my work of human creation. To Noah's point, if somebody stole that and copied it, I'd be pissed, right? But if an AI wrote that, I'd have no recourse. And I think we're all agreed on that. But you make excellent points, Noah, and I think I'm coming around now. I'm certainly not a fanboy, but I think I understand that there are use cases for AI that make sense as long as we are willing to operate in an unquantifiable, unknown quantum soup of legal risk, which is true. And apparently the fanboys and Noah and others are all willing to assume those risks. Okay, I'm a lawyer. I can't. I have to tell my clients, you are walking into a morass of unknown legal risks when you partner with Gen AI, and you are. And we've listed them again and again and again. But if y'all want to do it, sorry, Hailey, if y'all want to do it, sorry, Hailey's from the South and I let a y'all slip. If y'all want to do it, great. But go in with your eyes open. You can't sign contracts, NDAs. You can't sell your company. You can't monetize it. You can't sue people for copyright infringement. You can't get patents. You now know the list, the parade of horribles, right? Mm-hmm. Great. Go use Gen AI. There you go.
Mm. Okay.
Agreed.
Great. What if artists, creators grant use of their data creations, Grimes the singer as an example? So does that protect?
No, I have a thought on that. I think I know what Dwight that is, and he's a super smart guy. So I'm going to guess at what you mean there, Dwight. Of course, if they're free, Dwight, to grant copyright licenses to their stuff, Grimes can, of course, grant permission to use her data and her creations. If Grimes has used AI, however, to grant permission, then that is a legal fiction, Dwight, because Grimes doesn't own anything to grant permission to do. It's like if I let Noah stay in my Airbnb and I say, this is my house, you can stay in it, pay me $1,000. Well, if that's not my house, shame on Noah, right? I don't own the house. So if Grimes doesn't own that content because an AI generated it, Dwight, the license is a fiction. And I can steal and use it with complete legal impunity. I'm not going to pay Grimes money to use her stuff. I'm not going to pay any money to use Gen AI output ever again. Why would I? Just so you all know, I will never, ever pay money to use Gen AI output because I don't have to. There you go. You heard it here.
Question for you as a follow-up. What about these kind of invisible internet nerds, as I like to call them, that create albums of AI-generated music that sounds like Khalid or Ariana Grande, whatever? How, like, you can't really sue those people. You could try. You could do a cease and desist. So, like,
yeah, you could sue them.
I mean, it's hard to find them.
Oh yeah, you can. Yeah, you can. There's nothing ambiguous about that part of the law. Like, if you make something that sounds like a reproduction of somebody else's, like a likeness of their voice, and then try to pass it up, like you could absolutely, they can go after you for that, for sure.
Yes, you could legally, you could.
So Hailey, Dwight, Kevin and Dwight have posted some clarification here.
Hey.
Grimes helps artists. She lets people use an AI reproduction of her voice.
Oh,
well,
cool.
That's a fiction. I'm not going to pay Grimes to use an AI reproduction of her voice. She has no rights to it. The only thing she can sue me for is a right of publicity violation. And all of you fanboys who want to go look, it's called the Bette Midler case. Go Google up the Bette Midler case, where somebody hired a voice actor to sound like Bette Midler in a commercial. And they sued the people who did the ad for what's called a right of publicity and trademark infringement, not copyright. So there's I can use this. Kevin posted this. I can use that with complete copyright impunity. Grimes has no rights to an AI generated version of her voice, period. Period. But Hailey, Grimes can sue me for right of publicity violation and trademark infringement.
They're two different things. They're two different layers of the law. Yeah.
And Kevin, I don't care if it's her voice. If it's an AI version of her voice, there's no copyright in it. Again, Kevin, it's not copyright. It's trademark law. They're different.
Her trademark is specific to her likeness, how she has monetized her voice, her presence, her whatever, everything that has to do with her. That's one side. The AI generated version of her voice is the other side. This is the part that is not copyrightable. The trademark is very much intact. This part is not. So the person who sits here can't go over here and be like, I can tell you that you can. No, you can't, because it's still not. It's still AI generated. We just don't have the copyright law for it. So mind you, it's cool that she's trying to do that. And I think that, of course, people are going to pay for it because they're going to support her or whatever. But as far as the legal protections, you're totally right, Brad. There are none.
So to clarify, somebody said licensed her voice, not technically true. She granted a right of publicity license. It's NIL all over again. You all know what NIL is, right? Because you follow college sports. NIL. Grimes has NIL that she's monetizing here. That's all this is. It's not a copyright issue.
It says 300 new songs were made in week 1.
They make music with her voice. So what? It's a trademark license. I don't see the issue here. They make music with her voice. Okay, it's a trademark issue.
Trademark, yeah. Because I think that was the piece that I was missing. Because I was like, look, all those people are over here getting away with it. Okay, cool, very interesting. Any other questions from the group before we move into closing statements?
Well, let me say this. So the fanboys should now be saying, they should be screaming at me. But Brad, you've just said I can have a trademark in AI generated content. Answer, yes, you can. How about that? Right? But that's a very different and weak remedy relative to the power of copyright and patent. But of course, you can have AI. Noah, you can have a client use AI to spin up a logo and have a trademark in that. Of course you can, because it's different. Copyright and trademark are different from patent.
Question for you, actually, that keeps coming. How do we tell what's AI generated legally? Because like a lot of the AI detectors are not.
Yes,
wait,
I'm so glad you said that.
Let's start a company and we'll employ 30 people to do AI sniffing and determine if something is AI generated. We'll hire all those displaced artists and make them AI sniffers. Okay, how about that? I know the answer to that, Noah, but you do too. What's the answer?
You can't. I mean, you just can't. Like, I've tested them. These detectors, they don't work, and they'll never work because they're only testing the output. Like, they're trying to see patterns that might be somehow similar, but you make a slight adjustment to a prompt and you absolutely cannot tell. You can't tell with images, you can't tell with video, you can't tell with audio, you can't tell with text. They'll never work. Ever.
So Noah's right, and that to some of the fanboys, that's why it's so expensive to go litigate this stuff. But you know the answer to this? Here it is. In civil court, what's the burden? You've all watched enough TV to know what's the burden of proof in civil court? Preponderance of the evidence. So all I have to do is hire a bunch of expert witnesses to analyze the content, look down at the code, analyze the phonemes, analyze the syntax, analyze the logistical structure and the language structure of the output, put it into the black box, bada bing, I opine this is generated by an AI, says the expert on the stand. Okay, and the jury makes a decision. You don't have to prove it, Hailey. You just have to prove by a preponderance of the evidence that your expert is better than theirs. That's the answer. True.
But doesn't that make it slightly harder for you, though? Because at the end of the day, you still, as the copyright attorney, you still have to show that proof. You have to go the extra mile. And at the end of the day, it's kind of your word against mine, your experts against mine. So it's not as cut and dry.
And my experts will be AI. So they'll be doing a lot. They'll be doing a lot more research than you.
I'm going to hire me. And Hailey, I'm going to hire me a PhD from Stanford with 2 degrees in computer science, and who's an AI founder, and pay him $100,000 and put him or her on the stand and convince the jury, and I'm going to win. I mean, that's just how it's done.
And I'll just set up ChatGPT and I'll be like, hey, you're a PhD in this, in several of these subjects. And I want you to just respond to everything this guy says. And then it'll be,
That
would be fun to watch.
Spin that up as like an episode of Law and Order or something. Noah.
That's our next debate.
That is brilliant, man. We should spin that up into a spec script. That's a great idea.
Okay. All right, let's move on into our closing statements portion, and you guys can take up as much time as you need. Noah, as tradition, you're going to go first, and then Brad, you're going to close us out.
Well, okay. Thank you guys for sticking around. It looks like we only lost like one person that I see in the viewers. So thank you for sticking around.
Yeah.
This has been fun. Brad, thank you. Thank you for taking it. Like I said, when I first reached out, I was sure that you were going to say no. You're like, I'm Brad Frazer. I'm busy. Like, get out of here. But I was really happy when you decided to do it. And it's been really fun. My closing statement is pretty simple, and I'll be concise here. Is that I agree with Brad in that the intellectual property and copyright landscape is dubious, and the law does not protect the creation of AI related content. And yes, someone can write into their contracts or loans or what have you, anything that could preclude you from being able to use AI in any meaningful way in your business. And if you do, you have to, you may get sued. My perspective on it is that that's an extremely narrow focus of what AI does, of what it's used for, of what it's capable of. And I think I want to tell a very, very short story of why I think this is the value of AI is far beyond money, far beyond business, far beyond litigation. If you've been to any of my presentations, you may have heard this story, but one of my favorite clients that I worked with was a real estate agent. And in the course of our consultation, she got very quiet And I asked her if there's something wrong. And she's like, I want to ask you a question, but I don't know if it's a stupid question. And I was like, no, it's fine. And she told me about her son who was autistic, who was struggling with math in school. And she said, is there any way that AI can help with that? And I have a soft spot for people on the spectrum, being one myself. And we went to GPT and we explained the situation, what it is she was dealing with, what kind of things they were struggling with. And I asked GPT to come up with a list of 10 games that she could play with her son to help teach math. And it printed out the list. And as it was printing, she just starts bawling. And I've had more than one experience where I've been in the course of a consultation and have people break down in tears because this is doing stuff we didn't know was possible. It's saving amounts of time that we thought we would never have. And well beyond the ideas of the possibility of litigation or what happens, in the interim or in the future, or even stuff that's happening right now. There is an enormous amount of value being realized in a variety of ways that have nothing to do with IP. And so for people who are questioning whether or not to use it, yes, if you're a business owner, if you're signing contracts, of course, do your due diligence, not just with AI, with everything. But in the meantime, innovate, be creative, use the stuff, figure out how we can move to the next level. If you want to be a part of the conversation, be a part of the conversation. Like Brad said, write your legislature. But in the meantime, let's stay curious, not resistant. Find every way we can to make this the best thing that it can be. It's just not going anywhere. So that's my statement.
Awesome. Thank you so much. All right, Brad, we're going to let you go. And then folks, don't leave because we do have a quick poll at the end on your opinion, who won the debate. Okay, so go ahead, Brad, and then we'll do our poll.
Thank you, Hailey. And Noah, thank you for sharing that story. That was very compelling and a great story. I've had some epiphanies during our discussion together today as well. And I agree, AI is not going anywhere. People will use AI. And it has great value in the enterprise. And it has human value. Noah, you've convinced me of that. And the fanboys here have convinced me of that. So great. But I think my message remains, please be aware of the legal environment of using Gen AI. So as you adopt it in your enterprise and use it, you've now been made aware of multiple risks that arise from using Gen AI in your enterprise. And we don't have to revisit them here in this closing statement. But hopefully now your eyes have been opened just a bit, at least. And we realize that, yeah, it's a panacea, but it's a panacea with problems. And I've trademarked that phrase, by the way, panacea with problems. So nobody uses that. That's my trademark. With problems, TM from Brad. Just kidding. Okay, so please just be aware of the legal environment. Read your contracts. Ask, am I going to sell my company? Am I ever going to go need a loan? Am I ever going to have to go do an investment round with some angels? I don't know. Am I ever going to, and just as a parenthetical, you all know this, that when you enter a prompt into ChatGPT, that prompt is not trade secret. You don't have an NDA with OpenAI. Whatever you tell them, they own and they use to train their LLM. You all know that, right? So, you're giving away your R&D every time you enter a prompt. And go read the terms of service. It says it right in there. I read it. It says anything you type in as a prompt is used to train the LLM. And you can opt out, but how many of you have opted out? So, you're given Microsoft free R&D every time you enter a prompt. Okay, great. If you're happy with that, good for you. But I want all of us to be aware of the legal environment in which we operate as we use AI until we have some additional clarity at the statutory level and at the judicial level. And I believe that will be some years. So please just be mindful of the legal environment as you're using Gen AI, which is indeed a powerful tool. There you go.
Awesome. Okay, guys. Thank you both. You guys just did a phenomenal job, exceeded my wildest expectations, and I did have some pretty high expectations. I would never burden you guys with low expectations. All right, I'm going to go ahead and do who won the debate. So before I put this up, think about, we're looking at this more from like technical expertise, how convincing they were, understanding we all are coming at this with our own perspectives.
I want to vote for Noah. I think Noah won it, man.
We get to vote.
Hey, Brad, I want to just, again, kind of reiterate the reason why I spoke to you in the first place. The reason why I stopped you outside of your presentation and what everybody saw here today is just your absolutely violent adherence to the facts. You just never, you will not let people knock you off course from the facts.
Mm-hmm.
And so I operate in the same way. Like the thing that I tell everybody, like when I start working with them, and I was like, what I want to do is light everything in your business on fire. And they're like, what? I'm like, I want to light it all on fire. I want to burn it to the ground because we're going to see what's still standing. And anything that's still standing has merit. So like that, I have that same mentality. Like I don't care about these YouTube videos that are claiming all these different things. I don't care about the sensationalized news stories. You test. You test. You accept the results. You refine the parameters. You test again. Like we don't do anything we're like up in this world of, well, I don't really know what to, like there is none of that. We just test and we accept the results, and that's the reality. And so I think that's one of the reasons why I liked your first presentation so much, and the reason why I reached out, because it's the same thing. It's just like this is reality as it stands. This is how it works. And so I really appreciate you, coming in here.
Thank you. Right back at you, my friend. And please know that when I have clients who want to deploy some kind of an AI thing in the enterprise, you're my guy. You're who I'm calling. If not Hailey, then I'm calling Noah. So I think this was a win-win for everyone here today. Thank you, my friend.
Yeah.
You guys see the poll that is now being displayed on the screen?
0. No one won. The audience won.
It looks like we tied, Noah, which is great. I think that's an appropriate outcome. I'm seeing a lot of 50-50s out there.
I don't think that for some reason the poll isn't working, because if you look in the chat, it is pretty clear it's a 50-50. Or maybe the fanboys may have won this one. So and girls. Says we can see it, but
Hailey,
can you
Hailey, before we let everybody go, and assuming this makes its way to the recording, please know that anybody watching this is certainly open to reach out to me for a free initial consultation. Yes, you heard it right. Brad Frazer will give you a free initial consultation. AI, IP privacy. Hey, I'll even talk to you about your lease of your Airbnb. No, I really won't, because I don't know that area of law. But hey, man, don't be shy about reaching out. You can tell in an hour and a half, you can't really dig down into some of the intricacies of copyright and trademark and patent and trade secret and contract and AI law. So don't be shy about reaching out, man. I'm not going to charge you. And I love it. You can tell, right? Can you tell? I love this stuff. I love it. And I will happily discuss it with you. So don't be shy about reaching out. Noah, that goes for you too, my friend.
Hey, thank you, man. I appreciate you. Hey, look, something else came in.
I think I figured out you had to turn on the poll.
Oh, you didn't turn on the poll?
I did. I did tell y'all it's my first time using this, first time live event. So I appreciate y'all navigating me with this. I was trying to figure all the cool widgets and stuff out. So all right, we got 3 votes in. So the poll is actually officially open. Michelle said, thank you, Brad. Thank you to both of them. Everybody seemed really happy. Thank you, guys. Let me know your feedback. You will get an email with the recording, and we should ask you as well a little survey about how you thought today went. We are always looking to do more of these. I'm going to try to get Brad and Noah back for another topic. If this is something you guys are interested in, please let me know. We definitely need more speakers on this very, very important topic of AI. But other than that, so Gary, you should be seeing a poll. It's still coming in. Cool. Y'all refresh it. All right. Nice. Look at that. 13, 63%. Yay. Oh, this is such a happy result for everybody.
Oh, that makes me happy. Hey, Ken out there in the chat, I apologize for not knowing who you are. I have a guess, but if I should know who you are, Ken, shoot me an email or shoot me a text or message me on LinkedIn just so I know who Ken was.
You better know who Ken is. Ken is a big deal.
Yeah, man.
Ken is a big deal. Don't get on his bad side. This guy's gonna run Boise in a few years.
Amazing. Well,
I see you, Ken.
I think that I am going to let you guys go a little early just because you never know. But if you guys have any questions or anything like that, let us know. Brad, thank you so much.
Thank you, Ken.
Noah,
thank you, Ken.
I've just had so much fun today. I hope you guys did too.
Yeah, this was great. I really did learn a lot. This was great. Noah, thanks, my friend. Great insights. Thanks to the fanboys. And Hailey, a special thanks to you for setting this up and putting it on. What a great forum, man. This is awesome. Thank you, Hailey.
Oh, well, this is fun. I love doing this. This is needed. We need to be able to have conversations. I mean, I like that we can kind of have heated conversations where it's almost like, but it's always with the best grace and the most like love. It's with love, right? And that's really what it should be. So let's keep up the good fight. Let's keep these conversations going. Clearly, y'all have amazing networks because that's the people who came today. You will be getting social stuff after this, so we'll be in touch. But other than that, everyone have a wonderful, wonderful rest of the week.
Opus.pro. It'll take this thing right here and split it into 30 animated caption shorts. Like that.
Wow.
Okay.
Good stuff, man. Good practice.
That's my AI genius over there.
Just in case.
All right. I will.
All right, well, I think I'm just going to close my browser window, Hailey, and bid everybody adieu, as they say in French. Okay, bye, everybody.
Bye, guys.